Bright Sun.
Hey, Bright Suns, everyone. Sorry
Bright
for the little
Suns,
delay there.
everybody.
We were making sure we were all set up. Hopefully the audio and video turns out okay. Let us know in the chat if the audio and video sounds and looks okay.
They were. Yeah.
Welcome into Jeffrey.
Jeffrey, Bright Suns. Bright Suns, traveler. Jeffrey says today is Walt Disney World birthday and Epcot birthday.
1971.
Yeah.
For, Walt Disney World.
So that's pretty cool. That's exciting. And of course we'll celebrate, this would be 49th birthday. They'll celebrate their 50th next year. So it's kind of a cool day for us Disney nerds.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to talk a little bit of what's everybody having for lunch. I just grabbed a quick snack and I'm still drinking coffee.
Oh wow!
So check it out. Check it out.
Yeah, that was smuggled back from mine and Jillian's recent trip to Walt Disney World.
It was. Isn't he cute? Look how cute he is.
Yeah, it is super cute. That is a great mug.
So I'm still drinking coffee, guys. We with this. We thought about this series, and we won't spend too much time on this because I know we need to get onto content. But we thought about this. William and I decided to watch The Mandalorian season 1 again anyway before season 2 drops on October the 30th. And so we had a discussion, and we said, well, why don't we do like a lunchtime stream and talk about a couple of episodes at a time, and then by the time it premieres on October 30th. Disney Dan, Bright Sun, my friend. It's so good to see you.
Welcome, Disney Dan. Thanks for being here.
Nice to see you, bud. So we just decided to talk about 2 episodes at a time, basically, until The Mandalorian drops on October 30th, and we're looking forward to it. So with this one, this kicks off our new series, Mando Mania, and we're going to talk about episodes 1 and 2.
So we like Mom said, we chose to do these episodes on Thursdays, and hopefully the last episode we do will be the last episode of season 1 plus the trailer. We'll also do a little review of the trailer for season 2. Hey, welcome in, Danny. Great to see you.
Right. So good to see you, Dan, by the way. I enjoy your content. Guys, just quickly, if you are not subscribed to Disney Dan with a Z, please go and subscribe to him. Great Disney content, former cast member, and our best bud across the pond, right?
Awesome.
So Bright Suns, Dan from Texas.
Yeah. So I took a lot of notes, and so hopefully I'm kind of concerned about how this goes. We could always cover things later on too. But yeah. So welcome in again to everyone. Bright Suns. So we picked Thursdays because our hope was that, the trailer, when the new episodes drop for season 2, or when the first episode drops for season 2 on October 30th, our hope is that our videos kind of help as a primer for everyone, not just us, but for everyone watching these videos. That kind of a primer to get us, back in the mindset of, it's been a while since we've watched, or at least for us, it's been a while since we've watched The Mandalorian. So
we got it, Danny. Thanks for ninja watching, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. We really appreciate it. But so hopefully, our last episode of this little series, and then we'll pick up with for season 1, will end the day before the first episode for season 2 releases. So
that's kind of how we're trying to time it.
And we're hoping to give everyone enough, we don't want to do spoilers, so we're hoping to give everyone, almost a week to watch each episode and then join in for our chats on Thursday.
Right. But just as a warning, there may be some spoilers. So because we really want to talk about this in detail, and I hear your droid.
Yeah, I may have to turn him off because my dog gets angered by the droid.
Oh, by him. Oh, okay.
Yeah. it startled her. So if hopefully she doesn't start barking. Yes, Jeffrey Resendez. Yeah, today is Walt Disney World's birthday, and also Epcot. Apparently also Epcot's birthday. But yeah,
she looks great for 49.
Oh yeah,
and of course next year we're looking forward to next year for the 50th, big 50th celebration. I'm sure even with all the Corona craziness, they've got a lot planned for the 50th. Yeah. So we're looking forward to it. Thanks for that, Jeffrey.
So, all right, we have a lot to cover.
We do.
And I wanted to start, before we even talk about episode 1, I wanted to start about me kind of being excited for the show to come out.
Yes.
So I watched, I believe it was on Facebook. They had live streamed kind of a panel for I think it was at Star Wars Celebration, maybe in Chicago that year.
Right. They did. It would have been last year, but 2019.
Yeah, man. Wow. It's hard to keep track of time.
I know.
So yeah, they did the Star Wars Celebration panel for the Mandalorian, and I knew after watching the panel, I said to myself, based on the things that people on the panel said and all the actors that they were bringing out, I was just like, man, this show is going to be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And, it started off, I think they had Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. Jon Favreau did the Iron Man movies. He also was the actor. Yeah. He acted as Happy.
He did.
Happy Hogan in the Iron Man movies, and he had cameos in Friends. Let's see, Jon Favreau, I think, also directed The Jungle Book and the live action Lion King. So Jon Favreau is about a household name at this point because he's been involved with Marvel. Now he's been involved with Star Wars stuff. And so he's kind of a big deal these days. Now, Dave Filoni is a big Star Wars guy.
And has been for several years.
Yeah.
Has been for a while.
I think I want to say he was either writer or director on pretty much most all, if not all, of the Clone Wars episodes, the animated series.
I think he was. That was my second interaction with him, or realizing that he had done that series, because it's excellent. Highly recommend the Clone Wars, the animated series. It is on Disney Plus. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. It's fantastic.
Yeah. It's if you enjoy Star Wars, you will enjoy the Clone Wars because you learn so much. It kind of gives a bit more background, and you're able to see more of some of these side characters.
A lot more background. It gives a lot more background as to what happened during the Clone Wars, and it's just amazing information. The animation is incredible. The characters are fantastic. You'll love it. If you're a Star Wars fan, you absolutely need to watch the Clone Wars.
Yeah. Let's see here. They so yeah, that's where I knew Dave Filoni from. But they brought out Pedro Pascal, who is the Mandalorian. They brought out Gina Carano, who's Cara Dune, and they brought out Carl Weathers, who most of us probably know best as Apollo Creed from the Rocky movies.
Yeah, loved him as Apollo Creed. Yeah.
Yes, and so
I've always been a huge Carl Weathers fan.
Just from watching the panel, I was sold. I was 100%. I think I called you actually.
Oh, you did, yeah.
I was so impressed and excited about this show that was upcoming about the Mandalorian. So
yeah, we were really anxious for this one. The hype was, a lot of hype surrounding it, a lot of high hopes. Directors, it actually has 6 directors.
Yeah.
Jon Favreau obviously is probably Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are probably masterminds. I'm thinking pretty much. Jon Favreau is also a producer. Deborah Chow, Rick Famuyiwa, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Bryce Dallas Howard and Taika Waititi And this team of 6 directors really does an amazing job. There is actually a it's like a roundtable discussion series on Disney Plus that you can also watch that we really enjoyed, and it's all of the directors and different pieces of the Mandalorian, how it came together, how they made it, concept, direction, development, all of that. What's the name of that series, William?
I was trying to remember that.
It's on Disney Plus, and I did not make a note of that. I'm sorry, but it is on Disney Plus, and it's excellent.
Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian.
I think so. Okay. I think so. So I highly recommend that too. Of course, in the first, it stars, as William said, Pedro Pascal, Carl Weathers as Grief Karga, Nick Nolte as Kuil. Hadn't seen Nick Nolte do too much in the last few years. Always liked him pretty much in everything that I saw him in, except for the original Incredible Hulk, which we're all trying to forget. And Werner Herzog as the client does a fantastic job as the client. Yes. And Emily Swallow is the armorer. So those are some of your initial characters for episodes 1 and 2.
And so on the panel, they talked about some of the filming techniques, and they talked about using a lot of the kind of old original techniques that George Lucas used, like and here's the thing is, like, they use some of those shots, and so and I'll get into this here in a minute, but this show feels and sounds and looks like Star Wars.
It does. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I would also add to that, William, that, and since now that you've been to Galaxy's Edge in Disney World, you'll know this. It looks and feels like Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
They have done such a great job. For those of you who have been to Galaxy's Edge, you know what I'm talking about. But as I was rewatching this series, getting ready for today, I thought they nailed Galaxy's Edge. It's amazing. It's really amazing.
And some of the filming techniques and the way that they used models instead of, it seems like we're so CGI heavy these days.
Yes.
And so for them to say, you know what, we're going to kind of go back to basics. Like, for instance, some of those scenes with the ship flying through space is using an actual model and like swinging it by the camera.
Yeah, it harkens back to the old Star Trek, the original Star Trek, when they had to depend on models because the technology hadn't been invented yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what it puts me in mind of, which is really cool because Star Trek inspired George Lucas to write Star Wars.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
And so, the other funny thing about the use of the models was that Jon Favreau talked about how cool it was to be able to keep the models in his office during filming.
This guy.
And so
which I would totally do. I would totally do.
100%. And so, it was great.
That one and that one and that one.
Yeah, exactly. It was awesome. But everything I heard in the panel, they said all the right things. Everything, they talked about the filming techniques and everything. And I was like, I'm sold. Like, this show's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And the thing about it was, okay, let's talk about, so whenever it was announced, what were your thoughts? I know that we talked a bit about the show.
Well, we because of the people that we just mentioned who were involved, primarily Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, that tells you immediately before you've ever seen a minute of the actual show that it's probably going to be great.
Yep.
So we were very excited. Of course, we'd only had Disney Plus for a few months by that time.
Yeah, it was a brief amount of time.
This was the new series. We were also, I think everybody was really hoping with this to if I could use the word, exorcise some of the last Star Wars movies and kind of maybe get back to some more substantial, more sink your teeth into it, actual Star Wars storyline that looks like Star Wars. Yeah. This movie looks like Star Wars, or a series looks like Star Wars. It feels like Star Wars. That the cinematography is fantastic. The blending, like you said, of props and CGI is almost flawless. I was really when I was watching it just recently, I was watching for, okay, can I see the CGI versus the props? Can I pick that? I couldn't tell. Could you? I watched for it and I couldn't tell.
I really couldn't. It's amazing because they not only used old film techniques, tried and true, throwback type film techniques. They used innovative new techniques.
Oh, yeah. That are so good that you can't tell the difference. Yeah. It's all seamless. It's very seamless. I wanted to, let's see, there was something else that I wanted to mention. The music. The music is, they just hit it out of the park with the music. Yeah. The music is by Ludwig Göransson.
Yeah.
I did look that up. The music is absolutely perfect.
For the Mandalorian. And then I think he won, was it an Oscar for Black Panther, maybe?
I don't know that, but he's amazing. This series, by the way, the Mandalorian season 1 won 7 Emmys. So wow, they won 7 Emmys. So I thought I'd mention that. So it's not just the fans who think this is a hit. It's a phenom. It's a phenom. It's a phenom. It really is. Yeah.
Talking about the music and everything, I've written that down too. I mean, here's the other thing: you have to nail that, and he crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. It's got very much like that adventure and kind of westerny,
space western. It's a space western. It's a western in space. It's so great. Concept art in the closing credits.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I
wrote that down too. And it's like you've said before, if you could have a book with all of the concept art in it and set it out on the coffee table and be able to look at it from time to time, you would.
I would love to. Surely they'll do that at some point, right? Surely they'll release all of that concept art published. Because I sit and watch the credits to see the concept art. If you're turning it off when the show ends, don't watch the credits for that concept art because it is beautiful. It's amazing. So that was really smart on their part to include that concept art as the credits roll.
For sure. The other thing you think about Ludwig Göransson, you think about the type of shoes that man had to fill. There are not many people that had the opportunity for Star Wars. John Williams is an icon. Just quick hits. Star Wars, Imperial March, Darth Vader's sound.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows these things. Indiana Jones, Jaws, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, E.T. I mean, his list of hits is a mile long.
It is. It is. Totally is.
For Ludwig Göransson to step in and absolutely do a tremendous job is really incredible because there are not many people who have had the opportunity to compose for anything Star Wars.
It's true. Well, and on top of that, I mean, and granted, he's a wonderful composer in his own right, but I don't care who you are. If you're stepping into the shoes of John Williams for Star Wars, that's pretty big. And for him to come up with something that is so iconic and so sets the tone and the feel for this amazing new series is pretty impressive. So hats off to him for sure.
Yeah. So other things, is there anything else you wanted to hit on before?
Hey, Mike.
A couple more things. Is there anything talk about related to those?
Just preliminary. That's what I had, what I had written down as far as preliminary notes. So The very first chapter is The Mandalorian, chapter 1.
So one more thing talking about before. Hey, Texas Family Camping, welcome in. This is the way. So yeah. So other thoughts before we ever watched a single episode was the premise of the show. It follows a Mandalorian bounty hunter, and bounty hunting isn't exactly a heroic or necessarily honorable profession.
No. Well, Boba Fett, I mean, we were first introduced to the Mandalorian race with Boba Fett in Star Wars. And even though he had a small role, relatively small role in the Star Wars trilogy, the original trilogy, he kind of became, he's a phenom in, on his own, because people really picked up on that character. And so with this series, we're able to really delve more into details of the Mandalorians. You can also, there's also some good information in the Clone Wars, the animated series backstory.
For sure. That's some of the best information you can find is in the Clone Wars. And then it continues on into Star Wars Rebels too, that you see.
Yes, it does.
You see a lot of the Mandalorian customs and kind of their way of life. They're essentially a warrior race.
They are. They are. And not the heroes in Star Wars. They're not
always. Not necessarily. I mean, they sometimes do some noble things, but they're
most of the time our up until the Mandalorian, our heroes in the Star Wars stories were not happy to see Mandalorians necessarily. So you have this, this guy, and I did want to say one other thing. In 2019, when the Mandalorian dropped, it was advertised, and it's going to be available on Disney Plus at midnight.
Yep.
Guess who was up at midnight watching the first episode?
Do not tell my brother-in-law, Jared. I doubt he'll ever see this episode. But I told him that I was going to watch it for the first time with him. But I stayed up, but I was so excited. I was like a kid on Christmas.
Yeah.
And I jumped right in. There were a lot of people that had issues streaming it because I think the traffic was so heavy. But I had no problem.
There were people. I had no problem. Problem. But yeah, there was a traffic jam at midnight.
I totally watched it and then had to pretend to be surprised whenever I watched it with Jared.
Okay, so Jared, if you're watching this episode, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Jared. But I did watch the rest of them with Jared for the first time. So so it's just the first one. This is the first one. I promise.
And so, well, with that first, the first, to me, I still think maybe the first episode was the best one. The introduction, it's one of the best. It was just amazing. I mean, I think we actually texted at like 1:30 or whatever time it was when we finished watching it a.m. To talk about it, because it is the Mandalorian is a Western in space. So it combines two of the most wonderful genres that we know of in the movies very well. Very effectively. And of course, the first scene that you see is a bar scene, and there are some bounty hunters, and they are after a bounty. They're after a guy in the bar who they're going to take in. They're like 3 of them, I think, and they're going to take him in.
Is the species of that character?
He's what? You cut out a what?
Mithril.
Mithril. Okay, so you're cutting out just a little bit, William. But how's our sound, guys? Mike, is our sound okay? We were kind of questioning our sound a little bit before we went live, but tell us if you guys can hear us okay. So he's a guy, he looks kind of aquatic because he's got like gills and what have you, but so they're taking him in, they're going to collect the bounty on him, and they're intent on taking him in. And just like in any good Western, the saloon doors you know, wide open. And the Mandalorian appears in silhouette, and the music is fantastic for the intro. And my takeaway from that bar scene, from the first bar scene where he forcibly takes the bounty from these guys and obviously finishes them off in short order, is you don't mess with this guy. This guy is not somebody to be trifled with. He's tough as boot leather. He means business. It's a no-nonsense deal. You know, his first line, the Mandalorian's first line in the first series, I can take you in warm or I can take you in cold.
Yeah.
Classic. Yeah. I mean, how do you get better than that? How do you get better?
He really maintains a lot of mystique because you don't hear him talk a lot.
That's true.
That's true. For the first however many minutes, like you hardly hear him speak. Like the Mythrol and all these other characters around him are talking. Right. But yeah, he really maintains that air of mystique.
Yeah, he does. He really does.
Super quick. Like we said, as we were thinking about the show, bounty hunters aren't exactly, it's not an honorable or heroic profession. They're simply in it for the money.
They are.
And they'll do the job for the right price, to quote Cad Bane from the Clone Wars.
Exactly. And the Mythrol, the Mythrol offers him money. He says, I have credits. He
talks about family. He mentions Life Day, which is like the Star Wars equivalent to Christmas, basically.
He does, and that's when Mando delivers the line, "I can take you in warm, or I can take you in cold." So, of course, the very next, they cut to the next scene, and they're waiting for a transport across the ice to get to the Razor Crest, which is the Mando ship. So and the guy, he doesn't have him in handcuffs or. He's not bound in it. He's just following him. It's like, okay, I'm not going to try to run from this guy because it's not going to end well. So he's taking his chances. He goes with Mando, and as they're going across that ice in the transport, the whatever it is, I don't know what that thing was called. I didn't write it down.
I heard on the subtitles, it's called a baaa-ack. So
the ice monster.
The guy's basically using his binoculars to look out over the ice and see, like, he's on the lookout for this water ice monster thing that looks like a giant walrus alligator. Yeah. And anyway, so he drops him off at Mando's ship, and then he drives away, and then boom, just out of the ice, the baaa-ack eats him in his ship, and then heads straight for the Mythrol and Mando.
Right.
And so they got to move. They got to get onto the ship and get away from this thing. And ultimately, Mando's able to tase it, and it kind of falls back into the water, and they escape.
And they get away. So
also, our first mention before all that, before they get on the transport to head out to his ship, Mando says no droids. And so that's
right.
You kind of learned that Mando has a disdain for droids.
Right. He doesn't think too much of droids at all. And that's the first little taste that you get of that, because the first transport comes by and there's a droid driving and Mando says no droids.
It's a perfectly good speeder. It's in great shape. Yeah. And then you hear the next one that's actually driven by a person, and it sounds all clunky and it's broken down. And but he just doesn't want to drive. He doesn't want to ride in a vehicle that's driven by a droid.
Right, comes by and picks him up, and that's fine with Mando as long as it's got a human driver. So.
Yep.
But yeah, so that whole thing, those whole pieces introduce us to this character and what he does for a living, and so he.
So they get away. The Mythrol walks around the ship and sees Mando's weapons cache and doesn't bother touching any of that. And then he starts kind of looking through some of these other bounties encased in carbonite.
Right.
We saw, Boba ended up, encasing Han in carbonite in Empire Strikes Back.
Right. So he has other bounties on the ship already who are encased in carbonite, and that's how he ends up.
And the mentor asked him, he asked him about, is it true you never take off your helmet? And he's asking all these questions, kind of pestering Mando a bit. And then, like I said, he claims he needs to use the restroom and just to kind of get some space between Mando and himself. And ultimately, he ends up getting encased in carbonite too. But real quick, we're introduced to the, like I said, bounty hunting is not necessarily heroic or honorable. We're introduced to Mando right off the bat as, he's a bad dude. Like like you said, he's not one to be traveled with. It's a complete contrast. So whenever Star Wars was originally released, George Lucas has since done, reshot some of the scenes that are in the movie. George Lucas originally had filmed Han Solo in the cantina on Mos Eisley, shooting Greedo. Right. And so now they've made it seem like Greedo fires at Han first, and Han shoots Greedo to protect himself. And what I've read is that George Lucas didn't want one of his new characters, the hero, to be introduced as a cold-blooded killer right off the bat. And so, contrasting how his change of mindset on Han, and then seeing, okay, Mando steps in, he dispatches 2 guys right off the bat, and then encases his bounty in carbonite, is completely different.
It is, yeah. It's a totally different approach. Yeah. And I think, our thinking has kind of changed a little bit, on this. Mando, obviously, as we'll see, of course, later in the series, he kind of grows a heart. This first bounty, after he delivers the first bounty, he goes in for another puck.
Yep. And that's where we meet Carl Weathers' character.
That's where we meet Carl Weathers.
Greef Karga.
We meet him. He's does a fantastic job with that role. And when he goes in for the puck, initially Mando says, well, we want, I'll take all of the pucks. And he says, no, Carl Weathers Greef says, no, there are other members of the guild. Yeah. And so he says, well, one of those won't even cover gas, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So Greef says, well, I do have one other bounty, but there's no puck on it, deep pockets. And so that then you're introduced to the client.
Yeah. Also, this little thing is called the chit. That's CHIT. It's a little card that he uses to get into that area to meet the client. But one other thing to mention is Greef tries to pay Mando in calamari flan, and then he ends up paying him partially in calamari flan, but he tries to pay him in Imperial credits for his bounty. And Mando says, "Don't you know the Empire's fallen? That's no good these days." And so that I believe the Mandalorian takes place, I think, 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Right, that's what I've read too.
And so that was a good way to set the time for the show.
Now I'm wondering, when is Galaxy's Edge supposed to be kind of set during that same time period, William?
No, Galaxy's Edge is. I want to say it's in the sequel trilogy, so it's a few years down the road.
So it's several years down the road. So this being 5 years, and you can tell because of the references in the movies that you're not very far from Return of the Jedi, from the Empire falling in Return of the Jedi. So, but anyway, that scene with Carl Weathers introduces us to Greef Karga. He does not tell him. He tells him the bounty is 50 years old. He doesn't tell him anything about the bounty.
Talking about the client.
Pardon?
Talking about the client.
The client tells, yes, he does. And he tells him, okay, 50 years old. That actor is Werner Herzog, plays the client. And he has a really thick accent. Really, really, the casting's fantastic. Everybody does.
Another cool moment in this scene is Mando walks into the room and there's these old, and you can tell the Empire is probably not in a great place. All these stormtroopers are just covered in like sand and look very dirty instead of looking clean as you usually see. Like their armor looks like it's got sand and junk on it. And so Mando walks into the room, and Dr. Pershing, this other guy that's along with the client, walks into the room, and Mando draws his rifle real quick and is ready to blow him away. And the stormtroopers tell Mando, "We have you 4-1." And Mando says, "I like those odds."
Yeah. That's pretty classic. That's awesome. Pretty classic. And it's all, Pedro Pascal delivers his lines in this monotone, this wonderful monotone, not get excited. He's very calm, calculating character. Yeah. He really is. So all of his lines are delivered in this great monotone voice that just really, adds to Mando's mystique. It adds to his power, if you will, to me.
So like you said, we were there with the client, surrounded by stormtroopers. He lets them know the bounty is 50 years old, and the client says he slides over a plate of Beskar steel, which Beskar is incredibly important to the Mandalorian culture.
It is.
Beskar, I wrote down a really excellent quote from Sabine Wren from Rebels. And so this is Sabine Wren in the Star Wars Rebels animated series talking. She's a Mandalorian. She's talking about Beskar. She says, "The armor I wear is 500 years old. I reforged it to my liking, but the battles, the history, the blood, all lives within it. And the same goes for every Mandalorian." So that quote shows you how important that Beskar, this material, steel-like material, is to the Mandalorian people.
And it's only mined on Mandalore, on the planet Mandalore, if I understand correctly. So he goes to then we're introduced to Emily Swallow, who's the armorer, and he gets a
down payment of just the one plate, and he tells him he has a the client says, "I have a Camtono." So I'm guessing, we're not there yet, but I'm guessing that's that little ice cream holder thing that is painted to look differently.
It's the thing that he pays him. He has all of the Beskar when he finally pays him the full bounty. All of the Beskar plates, which have an Imperial imprint on them, by the way, they're in this. It's an ice cream freezer. That they used as a prop, and they repainted it to hold this. It's really interesting that they used it, and it looks like an ice cream freezer that's been repainted. It's a repurposed ice cream freezer, which is funny.
But the other iconic quote from the scene with the client is, "Bounty hunting is a complicated profession." And so the client says, "I'm okay with you bringing the bounty in, warm or cold," basically, to quote Mando.
And the doctor who's standing next to him says, "That's not what we agreed to." So he does protest on that, and he ends up later on. We find that he has protected the child. So he is not for killing him. The doctor that's kind of
one more thing from the interaction with the client and Mando is, before Mando leaves, the client says, "It is good to restore the natural order of things." And I thought, man, that is a highly Imperial, very Empire mentality.
It is.
And so I thought that line really stuck out with me. These guys believe they should be in power. They believe they should, they believe there's a natural order of things, and that they should be in power and they should rule over everyone.
They do. And he's talking, of course, about the fact that he just gave Mando back some Beskar. And the Beskar, of course, is Mandalorian. It's mined on planet Mandalore, and so he delivers that line, and it is very imperialistic. That line that okay, I'm giving you this Beskar, and it's good that it's restored to your people. So, yeah, really, really, if you think past a lot of the lines, there's a lot of foreshadowing. There's a lot of hearkening back to the Star Wars movies. If you are a Star Wars fan and you know Star Wars history or a big fan of the movies, you can pick up on so much information that your average viewer would not connect to anything necessarily.
And I think that's really the beautiful thing about this series is that regardless, like you can not know anything about Star Wars at all and still think this show is awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you had no knowledge, never seen a Star Wars movie in your life, you could still start watching The Mandalorian and completely enjoy it, which is pretty amazing that they managed to not only continue the Star Wars stories, you know, for us who are Star Wars fans, but to make it stand alone for people who are not Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so Mando leaves the client and goes to a Mandalorian stronghold, and you see that mythosaur skull, and that's kind of the very iconic Mandalorian logo. Now I'll bring it up real quick. So you see it on Boba Fett's, I think, shoulder pad, but it's very iconic. You know, the mythosaur. I think that I want to say that Mandalorians used to ride and kind of they almost kind of domesticated mythosaurs a bit. But you see that giant mythosaur skull before he walks into the room, and like you said, that's where we're introduced to the armorer.
Right. And the armorer is female. She's played by Emily Swallow. And her character is really interesting. It's in this scene, even though it's kind of a short scene, that you're introduced to. But they talk about, you know, she's delighted to see this one plate of Beskar steel. He brings to her, and she's delighted to get it. So to be
she says it's from the Great Purge.
Yes, and so.
And they also say that his signet has not yet been revealed. And so they melt down the Beskar and create, she says, I believe a pauldron is in order, which I had to look up what a pauldron was. It's that shoulder plate that Mando has on one shoulder. Right.
So she makes one, because that's all the steel they have, just out of the one plate that he gets for the down payment on the bounty. And so he, you know, heads out, and he, you know, in chasing down the bounty, he ends up on a planet where there are, and my mind went blank. Oh, hey, Lori. Hey, Lori G.
Super quick, I just want to slide this in there. He creates the pauldron, that shoulder piece, and the armorer tells him the excess will support many foundlings. And then you see some flashback moments of Mando, like it's obvious that like his parents are being attacked and they like hide him. And so you see these like flashback scenes as they're crafting the shoulder piece. And Mando said, you know, Mando's glad, you know, that this excess Beskar will support many foundlings. And so one other thing to note is as Mando's walking into that stronghold, you see other Mandalorians. Like there's a decent number of Mandalorians in this tunnel. And I think there's even a couple of kids that run past him.
And they are in hiding. The Mandalorians are, at this point, they're in hiding from the Empire, because the Empire took over Mandalore, and many of them had to flee their planet, and so they are in hiding. And they don't reveal themselves.
So yeah, back to where you were saying, we end up on this new planet. He's looking for he's looking for the bounty, which at this point we don't know yet is the child. And he runs. The first thing that happens, he's kind of surveying everything, and then boom, he's attacked by a couple of blurgs.
Blurgs. That was the word I was searching for. Blurgs. Yeah. Now the blurgs are indigenous to this planet apparently, and he's attacked by One of them manages kind of to get away. I think he kind of tases one of them with his weapon. And then another, but he's trying to free himself from his arm, from the mouth of the first one. The second one, and it's like, okay, you know, the second one is probably going to get him. And all of a sudden, the second one is also like electrocuted, tased, and that introduces Nick Nolte's character, one of my personal favorite characters in the whole series, Kuil.
Yes, Kuil is amazing. Jillian, it is during my lunch break, but thank you for hopping in.
Yeah, and we're going to have to hurry because we're still on episode 1.
But yeah, so we meet Kuil. Kuil is an Ugnaught, and we're introduced to yet another iconic, yet another iconic quote from this series. He ends all of the things he says, and he ends the conversations with, "I have spoken."
He does. He does.
It was great. It was an instant meme.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. Yeah. He has. There are always really good lines that come from any good series or movie, and this one is no exception to that rule. "I have spoken" has become a lot of really good memes on "I have spoken." Jillian. Lunch break.
So yeah, Kuil rescues him, and he decides to help Mando. He'd never seen a Mandalorian before. He decides to help Mando out. And he also says, "I've tried to help others, with this, and they failed." But all Kuil wants, this Ugnaught that's on the planet, kind of living out remote by himself, he just wants peace.
He wants peace in his valley.
Peace. Yeah.
He wants peace in his valley. And he hopes that Mando can get rid of, he says these people don't belong here. Basically, these are the mercenaries. They're mercenaries. They don't belong here. And if the stories are true about you, your reputation precedes you. Basically, the stories are true about you. You should make short work and get rid of them so that I can again have peace in my valley. Yeah. So Kuil turns down all forms of credits, money, any kind of compensation that Mando offers him. He says, "No, I just want you to get rid of these folks for me so I can live in peace." So Kuil really is a noble character. I think he has high ideals. He helps Mando in the hopes that Mando can get rid of these mercenaries that are, taking over his place.
So Mando learns how to ride a blurg from Kuil, and Kuil's very matter of fact, which really cracks me up. And he talks about, he said, your ancestors learned to ride the mythosaur. Surely you can ride this, I can't remember what he calls it, but the blurg.
Basically, a young foal, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's a young foal.
Yeah, and the blurs are hilarious.
They are very funny looking.
He says that he has to. Mando gets really frustrated because the blur keeps bucking him off, and he says, "Don't you have a land speed or something?" And Kuil says, "No, we have to have the blur to get across the terrain so that you can get to where these mercenaries are holding your bounty." So. He has to learn to ride the blurg. He learns to ride the blurg. Kuil, escorts him to this. He comes up on basically an overlook of this stronghold where these mercenaries are holding the bounty. So this
is where we first see IG-11.
It is. Oh my gosh!
He's a bounty droid.
Yeah,
and it's voiced by Taika Waititi, the director.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He did Thor Ragnarok, and he's done a lot of different movies.
That is neat. I didn't know that.
But so you see this droid just walk in, and he's legs are very skinny. It's a very it looks like a bunch of rails connected to a pipe. It's basically how I would describe what an IG unit looks like.
Yeah,
and he just walks in and really takes care of business. He does a lot of damage.
He does.
Wipes out a lot of these characters.
Mando's still on the hill, kind of taking in the whole scene. scoping it out to see, how many guards are there. And he sees the IG droid walk up, and he goes, "Oh gosh, a bounty droid." And he realizes that there's more than one bounty on this whatever he's supposed to bring in. He realizes at that point that the client has given out more than one bounty. So
yeah, another guild member has been sent to try and collect this bounty.
Right.
And this IG-11 just is like doing no-look shots, and his body's spinning around, and he's shooting all these different. Man, I tried to write down what they were. All these different creatures. He's just blasting them all around, and then finally,
he kills a lot, takes out a lot of them.
Yeah, and then finally he gets overwhelmed just because it turns into a numbers game. Yeah,
it does. And at that point, Mandalorian, while all this is going on, Mando makes his way off the hill and down into the, he's kind of crept into the stronghold there, and he's kind of assessing the situation to think, okay, what do we do here? And initially, the IG droid sees him and takes a shot at him, and Mando says, "Wait! I'm a guild member too." And basically, with all the fire, the fire, pew pew pew, over their heads, they work out this. Mando says, "I've got an idea. Let's just work together."
We'll split the bounty.
We'll split the bounty, and so. They kind of come to an agreement there, and still under fire, lots of fire. At one point, they seem to be overwhelmed, and this part I think is really funny. IG-11 says, basically we're outnumbered, we can't win. I've got to self-destruct."
Oh my!
And so, and Mando says, "No, don't self-destruct."
Initiating self-destruct sequence.
No. The whole time they're trying to shoot their way into this place, and Mando has to keep saying, "Don't self-destruct. Stop. Don't stop." It's really fun.
It was super funny.
It really was funny.
Oh, I was laughing so hard. But yeah, I mean, just in the first episode, pretty much the only iconic kind of piece of like Mandalorian weaponry that we haven't seen yet is a jetpack.
That's true.
Because he uses, I think you see Boba and maybe Jango both use the grappling hook, which he uses at the beginning and also uses to take over this heavy turret. So there's like this heavy repeating turret that's blasting right at IG and Mando. And then IG basically runs off as a distraction and is able to take down a few more people. And then Mando takes over the turret, and they just lay waste to everyone around.
Right. Yeah, they do. And they make it in. And at the end of the first episode, and we're about to the end of our first hour.
Those creatures were called Nikto. The creatures that were I guess protecting. I don't know. The creatures that had possession of the bounty.
Right. Something. Yeah.
Yeah.
They basically, they shoot everybody.
Yeah.
And they make it into the stronghold. And
there's one more Nikto, and another thing that made me laugh was Mando shoots the last Nikto, and he says, "Anyone else?"
And of course, if I'm a Nikto at that point, I'm slinking off. Trying to.
It's like I'll pass. He's already wiped everyone else out. I think I'm good.
Yeah. So at that point, they follow the trackers and find the egg thing. It's an egg-shaped carriage, basically.
Yeah.
And it's closed, and it looks like this white egg that's been has a lot of distress marks on it. And you think, what in the world is that?
Yeah.
And the moment of truth is when it opens, and you catch your very first glimpse of Baby Yoda.
Yeah, the child.
A child. You catch your first glimpse. I've got my Baby Yoda too back here, and I think and he's called the child. Obviously, it's not Baby Yoda.
Yeah, but that's kind of the internet meme name that he's given.
And that's my first thought was, oh my gosh, it's a baby Yoda. I mean, I think he's called that because everybody who watched that series, their brain immediately thought, oh, it's Baby Yoda. It's a Baby Yoda. So that's
we don't even know what the species is called because the only times we've ever seen the species is with Yoda and Yaddle. Yaddle, I think, was one of the other members of the Jedi Council that you see in the background of one of the prequel scenes. So those are the only two of these type of creature that we've ever seen before, to my knowledge.
No problem, Mike. We appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
I didn't even know that. Had not spotted another of Yoda's species in the background. I knew that there are others of his species, but really his species is something of a mystery to us. They have not given a whole lot of background on it. Now I have written down a question here. Did they ever actually say why
Here's the picture of Yaddle, which looks like Yoda.
There you go.
Yoda
okay, there you go. There you go. And he obviously is Yoda's race. Do we know why there's a bounty on the child?
Well, up to this point in episode 1, we don't.
We don't. No. I would think that there's a bounty on him because maybe they think he's force sensitive and that he will grow up to become a Jedi.
Or a Sith.
Or a Sith. I mean, the Empire kind of they're kind of one and the same with the Sith, but that comes to mind that they would want to destroy him, thinking that maybe his race almost always goes to the light side and they're afraid he will become, but up to this point, we have no idea. Now, after season 1, have they mentioned why? Have they even mentioned why there was a bounty on him?
I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to watch episode 3. I think that's when Mando takes him back. And I'm trying to remember that there's that Dr. Pershing that was introduced in episode 1, and I can't remember exactly what he says, but we'll just have to wait and talk about episode 3. But Mando's first reaction is wait. They said it was 50 years old, and IG says some species age differently, and IG is about to shoot the child, and Mando says no, and then all of a sudden you hear a blaster fire, and Mando has taken it's that there's no honor among thieves type mentality. And he shoots IG, and he just falls down, and then the
IG droid just clanks on the floor. He's dead.
The scene ends with that very iconic shot of Mando reaching down into the baby carrier.
Oh yeah,
and Baby Yoda, the child's reaching up. So man, we are already at an hour. We had a lot to cover, though. We were talking about before the show ever happened and everything. A lot of background.
Introducing it.
So I guess we'll just have to talk about episode 2 or chapter 2 and 3 next week and kind of adjust our schedule.
We can. We'll adjust it because we won't have as much introductory stuff to cover next week. Next week, actually, we'll talk about chapter 2, which is the child. It's called the child.
Yep.
And then chapter 3 is the sin, and chapter 4 is sanctuary. So we'll kind of continue this, and maybe we can get caught up as we go along. But it's really tough because there is so much to it, so much wonderful, so many wonderful pieces to it. The Star Wars history, the series itself, and all the things that went into making the series, and just the fact that it is just phenomenal. It is a phenomenal series. I don't know that any Star Wars, that the Star Wars fans, Star Wars fandom, if you will, have been any more excited about anything.
Not in some time, I would say. I mean, you're excited anytime you see Star Wars stuff come out, but for something of this quality to be released is really refreshing. So many people, regardless of what camp you're in, whether or not you like any of the what's called the Disney trilogy, that's really the Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah, it's really wonderful.
It was very refreshing to for this show to come out, you know, and there's not there's not a single lightsaber involved, you know, it's just Mando.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, pretty cool.
Let's see. I was going to mention October 3rd. There is a Hallmark ornament for Mando, Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, and there's a Hallmark ornament for the child being released by Hallmark.
Yes. So if you we collect Hallmark ornaments.
We do.
And
those are Christmas ornaments for those that are unfamiliar.
Yeah, Christmas ornaments for your tree, and of course I put them in other places in my house too. But have been collecting those for a long time, and they are dropping too. They're dropping the child and the Mandalorian. So if you collect those, be on the lookout, because I'm sure those are going to go really fast. Do you have a picture?
I guarantee it. I think I sent you a couple of pictures there.
Yeah, I think you did. I think you did.
So one is of the Mandalorian's cape swinging behind him. You can see his rifle stick on his back, hanging up in the air, and he's drawing his pistol. It's a great action shot. And then the other is Baby Yoda, the child, reaching up. He's sitting in his little floating stroller, a little egg-shaped thing. And he's got his hand up like he's using the Force. Yeah, so cool. Those are going to go fast. So October 3rd, we're going to be right on top of those, because we're going to have those. They're also just quickly. They're also this year they're offering a really neat light and action Hitchhiking Ghosts that we also need to get. So you can look that one up, guys. Obviously, we need that one. So because we're the Hitchhiking Bones. But yeah, we appreciate all of you who spent your lunch break with us. We're going to wrap it up. Shout out to Jeffrey Resendez, Disney Dan, Griswold Family Vacay, BDF, Mike Wheeler, Rayleigh Creative Travel, Texas Family Camping, Lori Jean Carlson, and Jillian Bone of the Hitchhiking.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being in. And if you're watching on Team Replay, we love our Team Replay. So thanks so much, guys. And leave a comment, as to what your favorite part is so far, and if you're looking forward to season 2, let us know. Yeah,
absolutely. And we have our other shows too. Jillian's got her show on Saturday at 8:15 Central Time called What's Brewing with the Bones, and I think this week she's talking about the new Animal Kingdom show, The Magic of Animal Kingdom, that's on Disney Plus. And then also we have a regular Tuesday night Hitchhiker Chat, which takes place at 9:00 p.m. Central Time.
It does, and we will be covering a movie to be determined.
Yeah,
we'll be covering a movie for Movie Week. There are several YouTubers who are also covering that. Go to theloudplace.com. to find out that whole lineup, and a lot of our great Disney YouTubers are also doing movies in honor of Movie Week, and we'll be doing that next week as well for Hitchhiker Chat. So join us for that, please.
So let's see. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you're new, and thank you so much to everyone who watched today's video and those that will watch on the replay.
Most definitely. We so appreciate it, guys, and join us again next week. Again, we appreciate you spending your lunch break with us, and we'll see how much of this thing we can cover next week.
So thanks again, everyone, and
hurry back. Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate it, everyone.
Bye-bye.